Hello everyone, welcome to part 3 of Cloudwatch. I'll talk a little bit more on Cloudwatch Logs and then we'll see Cloudwatch events. We already know that logs generated by EC2 instances or any on-premise servers can be placed in Cloudwatch Logs. Then we can process those logs later on for analysis using either EMR clusters or programs running on EC2 instances. But logs can be processed in real time also as soon as they are generated. We can use subscription filters to process logs in real time. This is our log group which has multiple log streams. All these log events are put in the log streams, but they have to be passed through subscription filters. And the logs can be delivered to Kinesis streams or Kinesis firehose or Lambda functions for real-time processing. We can build applications which would read data from Kinesis streams and firehose for real-time analytics as well. We have to create an additional component which is a role. The role has to be created so that Cloudwatch Logs can put data into Kinesis streams. This is the command to create subscription filter. AWS logs put subscription filter. And then you have to mention other parameters. You can refer to AWS CLI command reference to get the complete command syntax. We can also share real-time log data across multiple accounts. Suppose this Kinesis stream has been created in account A. Log events from multiple accounts can be pushed to the same Kinesis stream. We can then create applications to analyze data for different security purposes like intrusion detection and any other anomalies. Log events from account A, account B and account C can be put to the same Kinesis stream which was created in account A. Remember one thing, you have to provide permissions in account B and account C, either direct permissions or roles. You have to create roles for these accounts. Then we have another feature in Cloudwatch which is called Cloudwatch events. This is not Cloudwatch log events. Log events are nothing but log records. This is a separate concept altogether. The names can be a little bit confusing initially, but you will get a hold of it once you practice and work on it. An event is actually a change in state of an AWS resource. For example, EC2 instance generates an event when the state of an EC2 instance changes from pending to running, or running to shutting down, or running to stopped. These are the different states of an AWS resource. In this case, I have just told you about EC2 instances. For example, say auto-scaling groups. Auto-scaling groups scale out and scale in horizontally. Every time auto-scaling group launches a new instance or terminates a running instance, it generates an event. So those are called AWS resource events. You can take some action based on certain events. Targets actually processes events. You can have these targets: EC2, Lambda, Kinesis streams, ECS tasks. ECS is actually AWS's Docker automation, SNS topics, SQS queues. Then we have rules. A rule matches incoming events and routes them to targets for processing. A single rule can route to multiple targets. Let's see a small demo now. Things will be more clear then. To work on Cloudwatch events, go to the Cloudwatch console and here you have events. Click on events. This is the events dashboard or the landing page. The first thing it will ask you is to create rule. Either you can create rule from here or you can click this rules and create rules from there. So go there and then click on create rules. Now if you see here, there are two options. One is source and the other one is target. Source is actually the event source and the target is what action should be taken if this event is triggered. Either you can customize an event pattern or set a schedule to invoke these targets. But first of all, let me show you how do you create event patterns. Let's say we select a service name. We'll start with EC2. So in EC2, the service name is EC2 and it will tell you which event types you are bothered about. It can be all EC2 state change notifications, EBS volume notifications, snapshots on EBS volume, API calls via CloudTrail, or spot instance terminations. When any of these events trigger, you can set a target what to do. We'll create an instance state change notification. That means if a running instance is changed to shutting down or terminated, or if you launch an instance, then those are all EC2 instance state changes. So I'll select this one. You can mention any state or specific states. Any state means if EC2 instance states change anything from anything, or you can select specific states, let's say running or shutting down or stopped or stopping or terminated. What I'll do is I'll select shutting down here. Either you can select for any instance or specific instance IDs. I already have two instance IDs running. This is the first one, this is the second one. I'll select this instance ID, and then you can add additional instance IDs also. And I'll add one more, which is say terminated. So whenever the EC2 instance state changes from anything to shutting down or terminated for these two instances, something should be done. Now this is the event pattern view. So it is saying that the source is aws.ec2, the detailed type is EC2 instance state change notification. We have included shutting down and terminated state change for instance ID, these two. Once this is done, so this is the event source pane. We have configured the event source that if these things happen, then what? So the what portion would be configured in targets. So whenever these things happen, take certain action. I'll select a very simple action, but a lot of other actions are possible. Like you can put this data, all this event change data to Kinesis stream, to SNS topic, SQS queue, then few other stuff. ECS task can be used. EC2, you can send it to code pipeline. What I will do is I'll send a notification to SNS topic. Then I'll select a topic, which is SNS-topic. And the endpoint is my email ID. Once the rule is created, you can configure details. I'm naming it AWS Foundation Event Rule. Give it a proper description if you need. Either you can enable while creating the rule, or you can enable it later on also. As of now I'll enable it. Click on create rule. So the rule has been created. You can select this rule and take multiple actions. Either you can disable or delete or edit. Select on this rule, and then it will show you the ARN of the event rule, the event pattern which you have selected, and the target actions. Let me show you a few more. You can select another service like say auto scaling. In auto scaling, there are two different types of events. One is instance launch and instance terminate event, and the other one is AWS API call via CloudTrail. That means whatever API call you make, and if you enable CloudTrail, all those API calls would be logged, and you can use any of the API calls which have been logged by CloudTrail to set up your events. So as of now, I'll not select this. I'll select instance launch and terminate, and everything else is similar. Either you can select the event source to be any instance event or specific instance events, like instance launch successful, instance terminate successful, instance launch lifecycle action, etc. It can be for any auto scaling groups or for specific auto scaling groups. As of now, I do not have any auto scaling group created, so that's why if you select specific groups, it is giving you blank. Now in the event pattern view, you can see the source is aws.autoscaling, and in detail type, these are the different actions which you have chosen. And as usual, you can add targets. Let me show you for EFS. EFS does not have any event as such. For EFS, you can only enable either all events or API calls which are tracked via CloudTrail. So if you select CloudTrail, it is showing you the source is aws.elastic file system, and in the detail, event source is elasticfilesystem.amazonaws.com, and the detail type is Amazon API call via CloudTrail. For S3, we have different events like bucket level operations and object level operations. You can select any one of these. Either you can select any operation or specific operations, wherein create bucket, delete bucket policy, put bucket ACL, etc. Then you have object level operations. In object level operations, either you can choose any operation or specific like copy object, delete object, get object, put object, etc. As I have already created a rule, let's see the rule in action. What I'll do now is, I have two EC2 instances running. I'll terminate both the EC2 instances, and we'll see whether Cloudwatch events already takes the action to send a notification in my email ID. So both the instances have been terminated. As the state was changed from running to shutting down, an event was triggered which should have taken an action. As per the action, the event should be published to the SNS topic, which should send an email to my email ID. As you can see, I have received AWS notification messages. There are 4 messages because we had 2 EC2 instances, and in the event source, we mentioned shutting down and terminate both. Let us go ahead and see this. This is the first message which I got for this instance ID, and as the state was changed to shutting down. This was mentioned in the event source. This is the second instance ID, and the state has been changed from running to shutting down. In the third case, the previous instance state was changed from shutting down to terminated. Same is the case with This one, the second instance state was changed from shutting down to terminated. This is how CloudWatch events work. As you can see, we are only bothered about the AWS resource state change. CloudWatch events do not care about anything else. It's only for resource state changes. That's it. That's all about CloudWatch. Thanks for watching.